So let's get it. Y'all are not about to ruin Easter for me this year or anyone else. So no doubt you've probably heard it before. Easter is just a pagan holiday with a new name. Well, listen, this week, beginning today, we're going to set the record straight that Easter has absolutely nothing to do with paganism. And just like we did last year with Christmas, I'm going on the offensive in order to prove it. Because when it comes to the word Easter, the only thing pagan here is the myth. So over the course of this holy week, we're going to tackle a heresy hit list of 7 different topics, beginning today with the false assertion that the word Easter itself is pagan. So where does the word Easter come from? Well, contrary to memes, angry Reddit threads, and the people you like to listen to on TikToks that telling you that God's name is Yahuwah, the word Easter has absolutely no linguistic connection to the goddess Ishtar, Yostra, or any other pagan god or goddess. Let me say that again. Easter is not Ishtar, not in sound, not in meaning, and certainly not in origin. Ishtar is pronounced Ishtar, not Easter. They only sound vaguely similar in English and only in English. The truth is that the English word Easter and the German Ostern come from the Old Germanic and Saxon roots tied to the dawn, as in the direction the sun rises. The word East literally means sunrise, which is very fitting for the resurrection of the Son of God. So as you can see, the scholar Christian Cruz explains to us that our word Easter is of Saxon or Germanic origin and of precisely the same import with its German cognate Ostern. This means that they descend from the same language or form. He goes on to say that the latter is derived from the Old Teutonic, meaning Germanic, the Old Teutonic form of Austerson or Austersung, which means resurrection. Nick Sayers confirms this and adds that Ost means rising of the sun, or simply, in English, east. Again, he confirms that the word Ostern is linked to Austersung, which means resurrection in German. Some scholars trace it back to the Old Teutonic form of Estersen, meaning to stand again or to rise. Sounds like someone rising from the grave, doesn't it? This chart shows the various ways that Easter was spoken of throughout history. In the Old Testament, the Hebrew word was Pesach. The New Testament, which was written in Greek, transliterated the Hebrew Pesach into Pascha. Latin maintained the word Pascha, and the German translation, once again, would have been Ostern, and the English is Easter. So no, this isn't a pagan stamp placed on Christianity. It's a sunrise word used by Germanic Christians to point to the dawn of a new creation, or when the sun would rise again. Every other major language, they don't even use the word Easter. The words above all come from the Hebrew Pesach, or Passover, because Jesus, who Paul says in 1 Corinthians 5 and 7, is our Passover lamb. He rose from the dead during the Passover season. So how does the word Passover fit into all of this? Well, let me explain, and I'm going to bring some receipts. So again, in Hebrew, the word Passover is Pesach. In Greek, the language of the New Testament, it's Pascha. Pascha is what we call a polyseme, a word that has multiple meanings. For instance, it's like the word run. I can run a marathon, I can run a meeting, or I can run my mouth. All right, it's a polyseme. When Jews used the word Pascha in context prior to Christ's resurrection, it was referring to the Jewish celebration of the Passover. When Greek Christians used the same word to speak of Christ's resurrection, the word Pascha meant Easter or resurrection. This explains why the King James Version translators used the word Easter in Acts 12 and 4. They understood that the proper word there was Pascha or Passover, but they understood that this was the first celebration of the Passover after the resurrection, and so they used the word referring to that, which would have been Easter. It's only English and German that have separate words for Easter and Passover. Every other language uses the same word for both the Jewish Old Testament celebration and the New Testament celebration. In early Christian writing, St. Jerome was the first to translate the Bible into Latin, and he maintained the Greek Pascha. John Wycliffe, who was the first person to translate the New Testament into English, he used St. Jerome's Latin Vulgate as his source. and he transliterated the word Pascha into Pasch. Martin Luther translated the Bible into German, and he used the German equivalent to Pascha, which is the word Ostern. The word Passover itself was created in 1525 by William Tyndale. In his 1525 English New Testament and the 1534 revision, he uses the word Esther in order to refer to the Passover. Martin Luther and William Tyndale translated the word Pascha, meaning they focused on bringing into English the meaning of the word, not just transliterating the alphabetic characters from one language to another. So once again, the 1611 King James Version used the word Easter in Acts 12:4, not because they didn't know that the actual word there is Pascha, but because this Pascha was the first after Jesus had risen from the dead. Now note, Tyndale used the word Esther in both his 1525 and 1534 English New Testament. It wasn't until he translated the Old Testament into English in 1530 that he used the word Passover. This means that the word Easter or Esther was created and published in Bibles 5 years before the word Passover. Christians were already using the word Easter to refer to the Jewish Passover, and they fully understood that Passover was the shadow and Easter represented its fulfillment. So as I close, what does Easter really mean? Well, it's not about Ishtar, Yostra, or Ostara, and we're going to cover all of them with multiple sources on our next heresy hit list. But Easter is about Jesus. It's not pagan, it's powerful. It's a resurrection word, born of sunrise and hope. The empty tomb didn't borrow from myths, it broke the mold. So I invite you, be a Berean and fact check everything and every source that I cited in this video. Don't let false claims rob you of the beauty of the truth. Easter isn't stolen, it's risen. If you're looking for more information or to obtain a copy of this presentation, you can go to my website, www.greaterworksdiscipleship.com. Also from there, you can get access to the recent course that we just did on this called The Empty Tomb: History, Heresy, and Hope. God bless.